The story begins in the 13th century when Mongol armies sweep across Eastern Europe. Led by the ruthless general Burunda Khan, they destroy villages and force survivors to flee into the Carpathian Mountains. Many refugees hide in remote valleys, hoping to escape the invasion. One of these valleys holds a village named Tuklia. The settlement is protected by dense forest and a huge stone dam that guards the entrance. The village is led by an elder named Zahar Kut, a wise and respected man. His wife, Rada, supports him in every decision, and together they raise two sons. Their eldest son, Ivan, is calm and thoughtful. He naturally takes responsibility and often leads the younger villagers. The younger brother, Maxim, is more impulsive and bold, but his heart is loyal and brave. Since childhood, both brothers have trained in hunting and fighting, preparing for the day the Mongols might arrive. Their closest friend is Petro, the village blacksmith. Though quieter than the brothers, he is strong, dependable, and skilled at forging weapons. His work keeps the village ready for war. Trouble begins when the villagers discover their sheep burned and their stables destroyed. The damage clearly points to Tugur, the arrogant lord of a nearby settlement called Geach. He looks down on the mountain villagers and treats them as if they are beneath him. Zahar knows he cannot confront Tugur alone. According to tradition, a council must be held and Tugur must attend. To make that happen, Zahar sends Maxim on a hunting expedition as an excuse to invite him. The next morning, Maxim, Ivan, and several hunters enter the forest tracking a bear that has threatened the livestock. Suddenly, they hear a woman screaming from a ravine. Maxim rushes toward the sound and sees a young noblewoman trapped at the bottom. She is Miroslava, Tugur's daughter. She had wandered into the forest searching for adventure, but slipped and fell. Unfortunately, her cries wake a bear nearby. The animal approaches her slowly. Without hesitation, Maxim climbs down to help. Ivan and Petro stay above, ready to assist. A brutal fight follows. Maxim faces the bear with only his axe. The animal strikes fiercely, but after a long struggle, Maxim kills the bear and saves Miroslava. Just then, Tugur arrives with his guards. At first, he tries to take his daughter away without even thanking Maxim. But Miroslava speaks up, telling him clearly that Maxim saved her life. Tugur grudgingly asks Maxim what reward he wants. Maxim refuses any gift and instead asks him to come to Taklia for a council meeting. Tugur refuses immediately. Unwilling to sit with villagers he considers inferior, Miroslava insists that he must honor the request. Reluctantly, Tugur agrees. That night, however, he locks his daughter inside her room, forbidding her from leaving again. But Miroslava is not easily controlled. Later, Maxim secretly climbs onto the roof and reaches her window. She is surprised by his boldness. He invites her to the village festival the next day, and she agrees. The following evening, she sneaks out and joins him at the festival. Maxim introduces her to his family and the villagers. Unlike the cold world she comes from, the people welcome her warmly. She sees music, laughter, and strong community bonds she has never experienced before. Maxim also tells her the legend of the giant stone at the dam. According to the story, the stone was once a wise giant cursed by the goddess of death to guard the valley forever. The tale makes the village seem sacred and mysterious to her. The next morning, after Miroslava returns home, Rada, Ivan, and several villagers leave for a nearby town called Korin to form alliances against the Mongols. Meanwhile, Maxim and Petro go hunting. On their way, they meet a terrified villager running from the forest. The woman brings terrible news. Korin has been destroyed by black-clad riders who slaughtered everyone without mercy. Realizing their mother is in danger, Ivan immediately orders Maxim to warn their father. Then, the brothers and Petro rush toward Korin. When they arrive, they find the town in ruins. Buildings burn, Bodies lie everywhere, and smoke fills the air. Among the survivors, they find Maxim's uncle badly wounded. With his final breath, he tells them that Ratha and others were taken prisoner. Then he dies. The three friends follow the trail and find a raiders' camp where the captives are being held. The scene is brutal. Prisoners are tortured for sport, and guards treat the suffering like entertainment. They act immediately. Maxim rushes to free his mother, who is being dragged by a soldier. Ivan shoots a guard with his bow, while Petro breaks open the cages. They free several prisoners, including a man named Bohan who was close to death. A fierce fight erupts. Maxim cuts down multiple enemies, and the prisoners escape. But during the chaos, Maxim loses the lucky charm necklace he has carried since childhood. There is no time to retrieve it. The survivors flee into the night, with raiders chasing them. Exhausted, they hide inside a cave. There, they face another tragedy. Radha has been gravely wounded in the stomach. Despite their efforts, she dies in her son's arms. Her death shatters them, but their grief quickly turns into determination. Ivan and Maxim swear revenge on the Mongol forces responsible. At the same time, in the Mongol camp, Barunda Khan discovers that his own son was killed during the rescue. In the dead boy's hand, he finds Maxim's lost necklace. This clue gives him a path to hunt those responsible. Back in Taklia, after Radha's burial, Tugur finally arrives as promised. But instead of holding council, he announces that the land belongs to him and the villagers must submit. Zahar refuses. He challenges Tugur to settle the dispute through a duel. The terms are clear. If Tugur wins, Taklia must obey him, and Maxim will become his servant. If Tugur loses, he must unite his forces with the villagers against the Mongols. Maxim steps forward to fight on behalf of his people. Ivan supports him and hands him the lucky necklace again, believing it will protect him. Armed with twin axes, Maxim enters the dueling ground against Tugur's lieutenant. The fight is intense. Maxim moves quickly, dodging heavy strikes and responding with precise blows. Slowly, he wears his opponent down until he finally lands the decisive strike. The lieutenant falls, but Tugur refuses to honor the result. Instead, he threatens to reveal the village's location to the Mongols. Zahar calls him a coward in front of everyone. Under pressure from the villagers, Tugur finally gives in and agrees to unite with them. But far away, Barunda Khan is already preparing revenge, and the Mongol army is already moving toward Taklia. After finding the necklace in his son's hand, he threatens Tugur, and the threat is clear. If Tugur does not reveal who owns the necklace, his daughter Miroslava will suffer the consequences. At nearly the same time, Tugur's lieutenant arrives with urgent news. A massive Mongol force is already advancing toward Taklia. The village has almost no time to prepare. Everyone is mobilized, including women and children. Defenses are set around the dam and inside the village. When the Mongol army finally arrives, the first clash surprisingly favors the villagers. Enemy soldiers fall near the defenses, and Taklia's fighters hold their ground. But then, the truth is revealed. The Mongols attack from multiple directions at once. Someone has tipped them off. It becomes clear that Tugur has betrayed them. Chaos erupts as the villagers are surrounded and outnumbered. Maxim leads the remaining fighters into a large house to regroup. During the retreat, Bohan is struck by an arrow, and Petro struggles to save him. Moments later, Tugur arrives with a message from Barunda Khan. The general promises he will hunt every last villager until none remain alive. No one trusts Tugur anymore. Soon, flaming arrows rain down, and the house is set on fire. Smoke fills the rooms as the building burns. People begin to panic, believing they are trapped. But Maxim stays calm. He quickly forms a plan. Using the thick smoke as cover, he signals the fighters. At his command, they burst out of the burning house and launch a surprise counterattack. The Mongols are caught off guard, and the villagers manage to break free. During the chaos, Maxim again faces Tugar's lieutenant and defeats him decisively. The survivors escape into the forest. There, Maxim confronts Burundikan directly. The general raises his bow and fires, but Maxim throws his axe to disrupt the shot. The arrow misses him, but strikes Ivan instead. Ivan collapses with a fatal wound. The sight sends Tugar into rage, and he orders more flaming arrows at the villagers. But Myroslava steps forward and stands between the sides. She declares she will no longer follow her father and chooses instead to stand with the people of Tukulya. Burundikan then turns on Tugar, threatening to burn his lands and destroy everything he owns. In that moment, Tugar realizes he has only been a pawn. Back in the village, Ivan's wound proves fatal. The arrow was poisoned, and despite their efforts, he dies. His death devastates the family, especially coming so soon after their mother's loss. He leaves behind a wife and young child. Maxim is overwhelmed with grief and anger. When Miroslava tries to comfort him, he initially pushes her away, but over time, her loyalty helps him regain strength. Seeing the situation growing hopeless, Zahar gathers the villagers and announces a final plan. They will abandon Taklia. They will destroy the stone dam. When the Mongols pursue them, the flood will wipe out the army and give the survivors a chance to live free. The villagers agree. They know it means losing their home forever, but it is their only chance. The next day, thousands of Mongol soldiers march into the mountains. Maxim leads the defenders into a final stand, while the villagers prepare the dam. He shouts that if they must die, they will die like warriors. The first wave of Mongols is crushed by traps and resistance. Even though the villagers' weapons are simple, their determination pushes the attackers back. Reports reach Burundikan that one villager is fighting with the strength of 10 men. Enraged, the general kills the messenger for speaking such nonsense. Meanwhile, the evacuation continues. Maxim rescues a child and refuses to leave the battlefield until everyone else is safe. But Tunner makes one final move. He devises a plan to capture Maxim alive. Maxim is seized and forced to watch as Burundikan threatens to destroy everything he loves. The general chooses to torment him instead of killing him quickly. When Zahar hears his son has been captured, he still orders the villagers to continue with the dam plan, but Mongol attacks intensify, and arrows rain down, slowing their progress. During the battle, Zakar is struck by an arrow. Myroslava rushes to help him, treating him like a father. Despite his wound, Zakar continues directing the defense. Even Bohan, still weak, returns to fight. Hope begins to fade as the Mongol army pushes forward. Then, at the decisive moment, Petro gathers his remaining strength. With a final effort, he pulls the massive stone from its position. The dam collapses. A huge wave of water roars through the valley, sweeping away the Mongol army in seconds. Thousands of soldiers, horses, and weapons vanish in the flood. Only Burundikan, Tugar, and a few men survive, clinging to a tall rock. They still hold Maxim prisoner. Nearby, Miroslava manages to pull Zahar and others to safety. Tugar makes one last offer. If Zahar lets him escape, he will spare Maxim. Zahar answers by shooting an arrow at him. Burundikan immediately orders Maxim executed, but at the last second, Tugar turns on the Mongols. He cuts Maxim free and kills 2 of the general's men, trying to redeem himself. He attacks Burundikan, but is overpowered. Before dying, Tugar throws his sword to Maxim and tells him to fight. The final duel begins. Maxim battles Burundikan in brutal combat. The general is stronger and more experienced, and Maxim is struck repeatedly. Myroslava watches in fear as it seems he will fall, but Maxim refuses to give up. Summoning everything he has left, he rises and drives the sword into Burundikan, killing him at last. The tyrant who terrorized entire regions is finally defeated by a villager. Nearby, Zahar lies dying. With his final breath, he entrusts Maxim to Miroslava. His death marks the end of the old leadership and the beginning of a new future for the survivors. Though once mocked as peasants, the people of Tukolia proved their courage, unity, and strength. Their nobility came not from status, but from the way they fought for freedom, and in the end, they survived, even if their village did not. And with that, friends, this story comes to an end. Tell us in comment how you like the explanation, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.